loves 9/11. That's one thing I know about my friend Rob.
Well, I don't love 9/11.
Okay. You
Was
don't
a
love
national
9/11.
tragedy.
You
It was
love
a
the
tragedy.
events around it and conspiracy theories.
What events? The planes flying to the buildings? What part are you trying to say I
the
love?
psyops.
Oh,
the,
okay.
Oh,
the
yeah,
deep
for sure.
state.
Yes.
And this is a family pastime of yours.
Now
Yeah.
then park in there. Hand.
Yeah. All right, Rob, go ahead.
It is a family pastime of mine. My child and I, my 14-year-old, we like to watch
love
9/11 documentaries. 9/11's fascinating. It's in the news this week. Candace Owens did 2 episodes of her podcast where she covered odd things about 9/11. Her focus is more on the Israeli connection. The first episode was dedicated to the dancing Israelis. Have you guys ever heard of this conspiracy theory that 5 Israeli nationals with possible ties to Israeli intelligence were seen celebrating and photographing themselves while the Twin Towers were burning on 9/11 by a woman in an apartment in New Jersey?
It's not a theory. No. That's factual. They detained those guys. They were cheering and celebrating as the towers were on fire and coming down. Hold on. That's a fact. There was 5 of them.
Yes, because the
All
police held them they were detained by the FBI for 73 days, 71 days, but they were, so you're correct. The conspiracy isn't that they existed, it's their ties to the Israeli government and the Israeli government's involvement.
And they did. And Rob, they did have intelligence connection. Like they were involved in the intelligence community from Israel.
Yes, there were ties, and then they worked for a company called the Urban Moving Company, which when they raided the office, mysteriously...
It was ransacked.
Yes,
Everything was
crazy.
empty.
Company, that's so vague. And
Urban Moving Company.
Urban
Definitely
Moving,
upfront.
great name.
So they
That's
end up
upfront.
detaining these guys. They end up releasing them after 71 days of holding them, and they decided that the guys didn't have any ties.
Where'd they go back, Rob? Did they go back to Israel?
Back to it. Israel.
Weird.
Then a few days later, Candace does a second episode, and it's dedicated to this messaging service. I'm going to butcher the name, as I'm going to do throughout this entire newscast. I apologize. There's an app called, it was an instant messaging service in the 2000s called Odigbo.
Perfect.
And it was a messaging service that was created in Israel. And on that messaging service, there was a message sent out 2 hours before the 9/11 attacks warning that there was going to be an immediate attack, predicting the events of 9/11 on the messaging service.
Uh-oh.
So you have, if you look from what the evidence lays out that Candace Owens has presented, there's 5 dancing Israelis who were, if they didn't have foreknowledge of the attacks, were in the right place at the right time to celebrate it.
Yeah.
And then you have a weird message that warns people that there's going to be an attack on the World Trade Centers in 2 hours from now. And somehow there were over 4,000, according to reports, there were over 4,000 Israeli nationals that worked in the World Trade Centers, and only 4 of them died on 9/11.
Only 4.
Only 4. The rumors have always been that they were tipped off in advance.
Why wouldn't you tell everyone?
That's a great question. I would.
Jesus
because if no one died, then
No, what do you
there
mean?
would
You
be no
got to
war.
have collateral damage. Well, no. They needed at least, bro. If 200 people died, it would have been still tragic. We would have still done the mission. But when you say 3,000 Americans were murdered, terrorists, that
Play the names
sells
all the time.
a lot more. That sells, and it's crazy, Rob. I don't want to cut you off. Every time you hear people say October 7th was Israel's 9/11, you know what I say now? Oh, you mean all the prior knowledge, and it led to a war, and that's the real comparison. Not
they
that
don't
it was
know
this.
how true that statement is.
They don't. Yeah, exactly. They don't realize how true the statement is when people go, "That was our 9/11." Exactly. Everybody, they knew it was Benjamin Netanyahu knew it was coming. It happened, and guess what? It resulted in war. Go.
So whenever these things start to go viral, I always question. I'm like, is this a psyop? Like the Hawk Tua girl that we talked about.
Oh God.
Right. Well, okay, that's going everywhere. Why is that going everywhere?
Right.
What are they trying to distract us from? And then you see the Biden debate last night and that mess. You're like, maybe they're distracting from something else. And then started digging around 9/11 talk, and I realized this came out. This video was part of an unsealed treasure trove of information regarding the Saudi royal family and the Saudi government's involvement in 9/11. Currently, there's a group of 9/11 victims' families, insurance companies, and others who are suing the Saudi government, claiming that they were either involved in the 9/11 attacks or financed the 9/11 attacks. This video was captured by a guy named Omar al-Bayoumi. He is and I'm butchering the last name, but he is an accused.
Omar al-Bayoumi.
Bayoumi.
Say it.
al-Bayoumi.
Al-Bayoumi. He is a accused Saudi intelligence officer. He is tied to Saudi intelligence. They call him a Saudi intelligence operative.
Okay.
This video came out. If we could show this, we don't have to really play it much, but this is video that came out this week as part of the lawsuit against the Saudi government. This is footage of Omar al-Bayoumi casing Washington, D.C. in 1999 prior to the attacks. When he's filming this video, he is with two diplomats from the Saudi government, and he is in this video telling people he calls brothers who are planning an upcoming attack they're planning an upcoming plan that he is going to take more footage of the area for them and send it to them.
Shit. Yeah, why would you be doing that?
So
He's not sightseeing. He's going to all the major monuments and the buildings and the
but who is this guy?
Also, what was with that? I don't know the name of this building yet, but I will report it to you soon. That's not how you report about your vacation.
Yeah,
You don't
I'll
say,
report it.
I'm going to report back to you what beach I went to.
That's some suspect shit. Go
So
ahead.
who is this guy? I really dug it. I started to go down the rabbit hole, Vinny, because I'm like, this is super interesting.
Yeah.
Because this guy, Omar al-Bayoumi, he actually lived in Saudi Arabia until 1994, where he worked for the Saudi Ministry of Defense and Aviation.
That's normal.
Yeah, that sounds like a government
whatever.
position. Comes to the United States in 1994, moves to San Diego. When he moves to San Diego, he enrolls in the University of San Diego. But while he's working as a student at the University of San Diego, he is also being paid by the Saudi General Authority of Civil Aviation. They paid al-Bayoumi's salary through a government contractor. However, in 1999, that government contract then comes up. And guess what? The Saudi government then responds to the contractor with a letter marked extremely urgent. This is 1999, the same year that footage was documented, where he says that the government of Saudi Arabia wanted al-Bayoumi's contract renewed as quickly as possible. Then there's a bunch of weird stuff that starts going on. A Saudi philanthropist donates $500,000 to a Kurdish mosque being built in San Diego, but the requirements are that al-Bayoumi must be the maintenance manager of the mosque with a private office with a phone and computer that cannot be monitored by the church. That's weird.
Holy shit.
Then, in late 1999, al-Bayoumi starts receiving money. Where does that money come from? The Saudi government. He ends up receiving money from Princess Haifa bint Fazl. She is the wife of Bandar bin Sultan, the Saudi ambassador to the United States. And this money starts flowing in. $2,000, $3,000 checks. He ends up receiving somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000 from the princess, who is married to the Saudi ambassador to the United States. Okay, so we can clearly see that this guy has ties to the Saudi government.
Yeah.
This is the interesting part.
Oh, wow.
On-
That was interesting.
On January 15th of 2000, two future 9/11 hijackers, Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mindar, they flew from Bangkok, Thailand to Los Angeles, California. When they landed in Los Angeles, California, they had help from a person who helped them find an apartment, co-sign the lease in the apartment, finance them $1,500 to pay their rent, then help them obtain driver's license, rides to Social Security offices, and obtained information on flight schools. Do you guys have any idea who the person is that was helping the two 9/11 hijackers when they arrived in the United States?
Who?
Omar al-Bayoumi, the same guy that we just fucking talked about.
You
the guy that's
kidding
working with the Saudi government picks up the hijackers at LAX when they land. He gets them an apartment. He funds the apartment. He lives with them, helps them get all of the government documents they need to be able to go to flight school. Like, he literally took these guys to flight school. They live across the street from al-Bayoumi in their apartment. After they get settled, they actually live with al-Bayoumi for a little bit before he can find them an apartment across the street from his. According to neighbors, they had no furniture. They constantly played flight simulator games into the middle of the night, and they frequently took limousine rides that would pick them up for very short meetings and return them.
Oh, shit, because there's no audio in there.
So all of this proves or leads back to the assumption, because not only the government starts to investigate al-Bayoumi, and there's all kinds of weird stuff. Out of the 19 hijackers on 9/11, 15 of them are Saudi nationals.
15.
They were from the Saudi, Saudi Arabia.
Kingdom.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In addition to that, There's this thing called 28 pages. Have you guys ever heard of 28 pages?
I've heard it.
No.
Okay, it's 28 pages that were redacted. They were declassified in 2017, but it's part of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. It's the last 28 pages of a report that they did in 2002 following the attacks that literally ties us all in a big bow, and they kept it from the American public. They released the rest of the report, but they kept these 28 pages secret for 16 years until it becomes public in 2017, which then initiates the lawsuits on behalf of the 9/11 victims' families against the Saudi government. In that, they discover that this guy has phone records back to al-Bayoumi, the guy that brought the terrorists from LAX to the apartments and worked with them for 2 years leading up to the attacks. They actually trace this guy's phone records. His phone records actually are tied to Osama bin Laden. It was Osama bin Laden's like spiritual advisor. He was also receiving money not only from the Saudi national government while helping these guys get their stuff. He was also receiving money from Osama bin Laden through this spiritual advisor, and those payments coordinated, as did phone calls, with specific moments when the 9/11 hijackers arrived in America, when they signed their first lease, when he helped them. So he was getting paid, and certain milestones, he would communicate with Osama bin Laden, and they would send him more money. So all of this, to me, looks like, yes, there's odd things that happen, and Candace is definitely in the right ballpark to question that there was some type of involvement by a foreign government into 9/11. But the more that we read into this, the less it looks like Israel, and the more it looks like the Saudi royal family and the Saudi government, including the fact that Osama bin Laden was a Saudi national who was kicked out of the kingdom when he got caught smuggling arms into I forget where he got caught smuggling arms, but he got caught smuggling arms in the early 90s. They banned him from the kingdom. That being said, his family had very close ties to the Saudi royal family. And I want to wrap this up in one big bow. It seems as if the government was complicit in covering this up, because immediately following the 9/11 attacks, remember when all air travel was grounded?
Yeah.
You're old enough to remember. I don't know where
Yeah.
you lived. You're a young.
By the way, guess where I was? I was in the United States. I was in the United States Air Force.
Okay.
And I know. Talk about the flights that were
So
grounded.
all the planes were grounded. You could not fly anywhere.
Only
And
F-16s. Only F-16s in like military.
and apparently private planes where they flew Osama bin Laden's family members out of the United States, as well as members of the royal Saudi family. So all of this is just, to me, I go, how can we look at all of that has gone on 9/11 and not at least go, hey, clearly what we've been told does not add up, and that there is clearly some type of foreign government, whether it's the Saudis or Israel, or both, that were involved in this.
Because the bigger the lie,
Tragic.
the bigger the lie, the more you scream it, the more people believe it. We still can't see the footage from the all the gas stations and stuff around the Pentagon, because as we know, there's no way an airplane hit the Pentagon.
80 to 90 security cameers that FBI confiscated, and they won't release 23 years later. Why will you not release that?
Hold on, ready for this? Because all they have to say is it's due to national security. So that's one thing. Building number 7, hundreds of yards away, did not get hit by a plane, but it came down. The first time in the history of buildings falling did that happen. And but Rob, my quick question is that we have to move on.
Yes, thank you for going down that rabbit hole.
No, I love. By the way,
I have not slept in like 4 days.
We're eating carrots down there in the hole with you. But listen, so is it possible that Israel, in conjunction with Saudis, did the attack with the United States government knowing, to make it happen, to go into Iraq and start that? Because Benjamin Netanyahu, for how many years, would go in front of Congress and be like, America, we have to go there, and you guys have to go destroy Saddam Hussein. We need you to do this. Not him, us to do it, because look at where we are today because of that event.
Also because I think that is the case, because Israel and Saudi Arabia, while they don't agree on everything, they're not necessarily allies. They have common foreign policy objectives where, like, Saudi Arabia is, they follow a degree of Quranic law, but they don't have the same fanatical government that Iran has, for example. They have a monarchy, and just like Iran's monarchy, those get along a little bit easier with the United States and Israel. We've worked with Saudi Arabia for many years on things, on business deals. Of course, there's lots of tension and back and forth, but it's not like Iran, where it's a completely closed government, completely closed off from the world market. So both of them don't want Saddam Hussein. Both of them don't like Iran, both of them, they have lots of common goals. And as we saw with the death of Jamal Khashoggi, where, this guy just gets murdered by Saudi government people in broad daylight, and we can't comment about it and can't say anything.
Inside an embassy.
Inside an embassy. And by the way, Khashoggi's uncle is a billionaire gun runner going all throughout the Middle East.
Go figure.
So, the fact that we still cannot say anything about Saudi Arabia's connections to 9/11, and obviously especially not Israel's because they're a direct ally of ours.
For sure. Shush.
Just shows the power of money, but the question still remains: what money for what, and what are they really doing? Because as Humberto will get to, Julian Assange has this clip where he's asked why the Afghanistan war was perpetuated, and he says he doesn't say it's about resources or oil. He says it's a money laundering operation where they use the Afghanistan war to wash money out of the U.S. tax base into the hands of war profiteers and just basically pillage the United States into the hands of multinational corporations, and that's basically what they say about Ukraine as well.
Well, listen, Rob, great freaking story. I don't trust. I zero trust our government with anything or any government, including Israel, Saudi, because anybody with power wants to keep that power, and they'll do fucking anything to keep it.